Well, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Great. Greetings from the East Coast. I'm talking to you in Las Vegas, I take it, right?
Yes.
And you are, look at, I'm so bad. I write the name down as I showed you before we started. Shirin Siavashi. Did I get it right?
That's perfect.
I was nervous about pronouncing your first name, not your last name.
Oh, really? Because that's
Yes.
normally people get that wrong too, but you said it perfectly.
Thanks. Yeah, it's the second half, Shireen. I was calling him Shirin, but I had the accent on the
Oh,
wrong part.
yeah. People say Shireen, Shirin. Like there's different ways to pronounce that name, but I've always said Shireen. Oh,
I like that. Very cool. Well,
yeah.
welcome to Guitar Tales.
Thank you.
We are so happy to have you. The way we got you is that Scott, guitarist Engel, he's our publicist. His
hmm
band opened for you. We were trying to figure out in Seaside Heights either 2017 or 2018. Do you remember?
Probably 2017, I think.
Okay. And
Might
he's
even have been 2016 because I think we did that East Coast tour 2 years in a row. So
okay.
like 2016 and 17, probably.
Okay. And he said when you got on stage, you just shredded. He said
Oh,
he said he was he wasn't sure what to expect, and he said as soon as she got that guitar, he's like, oh, she's the real deal.
oh, thank you.
Otherwise, you wouldn't make guitar tales. But, no, I'm
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah, I remember him because I remember that he gave me like his little business card and I put it in my pedal board case and I was like, Guitarmicist, that's a cool name.
Isn't it cool? Now, you know the
It's cool,
history of
yeah.
it? You know the background of that?
Because he's a pharmacist, right?
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah. We even have, let's see, we have them right here. We have business cards for our show too. So we got these business cards.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Which
Nice.
we don't do anything with because it's 2021 and no one uses business cards anymore, but we
Right,
got them.
yeah. But you
Yeah.
got them. That's
But
the
we got
important
them.
thing.
Yeah. So we could do 3 hours on you, I suspect, because you have such a cool story. So I'm going to jump right in. So, and I warn you, my dog would be making noise. He is right
Oh,
now.
that is he's so cute.
Yes. We'll put him on the ear, and then we'll shut up. Here he is. There's Bo.
Hi. Hi,
Go ahead.
doggy.
And we know that you have a dog who might be, he's being
Oh,
held at bay
it's
right now,
it's
right?
my housemate's dog, yeah, but they're being good right now, so.
All right, good. So you're in Vegas. You're in
Mhm.
Cirque du Soleil, which is just
Yes.
such a cool thing. I also, Scott sent me your Instagram page,
hmm
and I see you're a photographer. You're interested in either astronomy or astrology. I'm assuming astronomy. Or you just like,
Astronomy.
yeah.
Just quick side note, I definitely don't feel comfortable calling myself a photographer because I literally started a year ago.
Okay.
So don't ask me any like in-depth questions there, but I definitely love it. It's like a
You
new
take
hobby.
pictures.
I
Yeah,
take pictures, yeah.
that's right. So, but they're beautiful. I mean, I was
Oh,
scrolling
thank
because,
you.
yeah, they're really nice. And I noticed you seem to have a taste for the outdoor pictures. You had a lot of good
Yeah.
indoor pictures, but the sky
The
really
sky,
seemed,
yeah.
isn't that something? You had some
Yeah,
moon
it's
shots.
definitely, I've always been very like interested in space and stuff and always just loved the night sky. And it just kind of happened during the pandemic because there was literally nothing to do. We couldn't go anywhere. And I
Right.
mean, obviously, we were all
Yeah.
in the same boat.
Yeah.
And I just started, it's so hot in Las Vegas, obviously. So
Yeah. Like
for,
120 hot.
yes, like now it's finally cooling down a little bit, like around this time. But so when we shut down everything last year in April, May, it was so hot. So like literally you can only go out late at night. And
Right.
I noticed a lot of, like, wow, it's so beautiful. And I started wanting to take photos of it and it just turned into a thing. And now it's like my second hobby.
Oh, that's great. There's something about the desert sky. I mean, I get a nice sky
Yeah.
here. There's nice skies everywhere, but the desert sky is spiritual.
Yeah.
You ever read
It's
Carlos Castaneda?
no, I mean I have heard the name, but I haven't read.
He's a bit of an old hippie, but he would do lots of drugs in the desert. But but he talked about the desert and just how beautiful and spiritual it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And are you now the pictures? I think I saw in one of them. You're not just using your iPhone or whatever phone is. You've got a Sirius SLR, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I only have one camera and I got that one. My brother is a photographer, so he helped me
Okay.
pick something out that was like cheap enough, for somebody that's new, but that still
Sure.
would do a good job. So I just got a Canon Rebel T7.
That's a very nice camera. Yeah.
It's a nice camera, and then I just started exploring as much as possible with that. And my best friend gave me a tripod
That's a big
so that I
difference,
can,
right?
big difference. Yeah. If you want to take pictures of the night sky. And I've been just diving into learning how to like stack photos and stuff like that to reduce noise. And so it's a whole new world for me, but it's so much fun.
That's great. And I saw you had some pictures where you do the extended exposure so you can get the star trails going across.
Yeah,
That's good stuff.
exactly. Yeah. I've only tried that a few times, literally outside the house, so not
Right.
very much. There's this really cool program. I think it's called Star Stacks. I could be
Okay.
wrong, something like that. It's a free program.
Oh,
It's
nice.
really helpful. Yeah.
That's good stuff. So that's a side hobby. And
Yes.
I guess we are guitar tales, so I'll talk about guitar a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so when did you start playing guitar?
So I started a little bit when I was 11 because I got an acoustic guitar,
Okay.
and I just learned the basics, like a few open chords, and because I was always obsessed with music, but I was mostly singing
Okay.
as a kid. And then I started guitar more seriously, and I started electric guitar when I was about 14.
Okay. And where did you grow up?
Sweden, Gothenburg, Sweden.
Okay. All right. And when did you come? So were you playing out there and you came here? When did you come here?
So I came here literally on my day after my 21st birthday, I think.
Oh,
Yeah. So
okay.
before that, I never studied music or anything, but I was playing. I had an original band in Sweden, and I was just playing and practicing a lot. And then I had a dream to go to MI, like the old GIT
Okay.
in LA. So that's why I came here.
Well, that's great. And did you go straight to Vegas or?
No, I lived in LA until 2018, I
Okay.
think, or
Okay.
19 maybe.
So that's an interesting music scene in LA. And you got a lot of
Yes,
competition out there, but it's also there's a lot of opportunity for growth and things like that, right?
definitely. Yeah, when I was out of music school, I just knew that I have to find a way to survive playing music somehow. And then what happened was that I ended up finding Dollface,
Right.
like all female cover
Right.
band that was out in Vegas. So even though I was living in LA, we were going back and forth all the time and playing out here and
Right.
traveling a lot. So that was very good experience for me.
And you're not with Dollface anymore, right?
No,
Okay. And that's the band that Scott opened for, right? The one
yes.
in
Mhm.
Seaside. And he said you guys were just fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah, that was I mean, they're amazing. That was a fun band to be a part of for sure.
That's great. And what was your guitar of choice back then when you were with Dollface? Was it the Gretsch or was it something else?
No, I've always been like a Les Paul person, and I have what I was playing for about 3 years, I think, with Dollface was it's a Gibson Signature T. So
Okay.
it's like the tribute model to Les Paul
Nice.
when he passed. It's a great guitar, but it's really heavy.
Okay.
So I
And on
ended
your
up
back?
getting very heavy. I think that's part of the reason why I started developing tendonitis,
Oh, wow.
because you shouldn't be doing like 4 hour gigs with a guitar like that. At least I shouldn't, you know.
Right, right, right.
But so that's why I got the Gretsch, which is like a semi-hollow body, and I started using that more to kind of give my back some relief.
Right. And even your Gretsch had a less Polish shape to it.
Yeah.
Because the body was very is it a Gretsch Les Paul copy or just a Gretsch Gretsch? Just a regular one?
It's no, it's not a Les Paul copy. I have it right here. Like you can, it's it's a little like it needs some work done. I have a little bit of tape and
Beautiful
stuff
though.
going
Yeah.
here. So
Is that
it's a Les
Bigsby?
Paul shape, Bixby.
Yeah.
It's the electromatic jet. Um, yeah. So I mean, it definitely has the Les Paul shape, kind of.
Yeah.
Um, it's a really great guitar. It sounds great, like even when it's not plugged in because of the semi-hollow body. It just
That's why
really
you were
clear.
that's why a lot of your videos you don't have it plugged in. I was wondering why you were doing that, but it did sound good. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been diving into a lot of like fingerstyle stuff and like just chord melody things.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time I end up not plugging in or just plugging in like a very quiet, clean tone to
Right.
not disturb my housemates. And
Right. That's right. Now, one of the questions that we've been asking all our guests on the Zoom shows, and even a little bit, we've only had one studio show since COVID has subsided a bit, if not a lot, is how COVID has affected your art and your craft. You know, you went from, you were in Dollface for a while, right?
Hmm.
You're a performer and you're out in front of people. And then March, April of 2020, suddenly we're all locked in our homes and apartments and we're outside. We're not really supposed to be around people. So, what did that do to you as an artist?
Oh wow. Um,
The good and the
uh,
bad.
it so many things. I mean, first of all, I just think that it just given me a new sense of appreciation. Like I feel like I was always grateful that I got to
Right.
play music full time, but at a whole new level now because it's still like when you do something consistently, it becomes work no matter what it is, and you get tired. And
Yeah.
like with Cirque, we do 10 shows a week, which is
Wow.
tiring, very tiring. Um, and that whole like play every show like it's your last.
Hmm.
Like I feel like I got that as a concept before, but now I really feel it. Like I'm still reminded every show that this is not to be taken for granted, and that we're so
Right.
lucky to get to do this. And I feel like it's like embodied now, like that gratefulness that we get to play because it's
That's
not
that's
a given.
That's really something, and you're right. I mean, you could do a show tonight, and then we could suddenly hear that all the COVID cases started spiking, and then,
Hmm.
corporate says, you know what, we got to shut down for 3 months until things quiet down,
Exactly.
and who knows what happens after those 3 months? Like, I'm not trying to
Yeah.
push your buttons
No.
tonight, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, that's how we all feel all the time. Like
yeah,
it's because it was looking better for a while, and then the Delta
right.
variant happened. So I think we're all like just living in the moment more maybe
Right.
than before COVID.
So COVID hits. So were you playing actively on a regular basis right before COVID hit? That was
Yeah, I was doing Cirque when that happened.
Oh, okay. So you're with Cirque by then. So I'm assuming it shut down for a period of time,
Hmm.
right? So what did you start doing with yourself? We know about photography, which is a wonderful outlet. What about your guitar? What did that do to your guitar playing?
Wow. I mean, it was such a long time. So I went through so many different phases with music because I think in the beginning I was kind of excited about all the free time. I can play whatever I want, so I was
Right,
just playing a lot. And then because I do have tendonitis, sometimes when I get a little too excited and I have those really long practice
right.
um, moments, then that gets worse. So I kind of had to stop for a while. So I think there was probably a month or so that I didn't play at all.
Which is almost, was there some part of you that thought, oh my God, that, like obviously separate from the tragedy that's going on all around you, did it give you a little chance to heal and sort of catch up a little bit?
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also, I've been wanting, it's been, on my list forever to write more music.
Okay.
And I tend to kind of put that aside and like, yeah, when the time is right. And having that space where I wasn't playing all the time or working on something definitely opened up more like of a creative flow.
Yeah, because if I would imagine if you're doing 10 shows a week, that's
Mhm.
got to be, and it's a 4 hour show ish,
Oh, no, no, no. Four
circus
hours,
shorter.
that was with Dollface. We would do
Oh, okay.
like a 3 1 hours or 4:45s or something like that. Circus is 90 minutes twice
Oh,
a day.
that's still a lot though.
Yeah,
So you're doing that, and then in between, you're maintaining your home and whatever you have going on in your life, and it doesn't leave sort of the emotional bandwidth to sort of tap into your creative energy, I would think.
definitely. And also for me, a lot of it is the time. Like I'm mostly creative at night. And if
Okay.
if I'm working at night, if I'm doing shows and I come home, like that's
Right.
normally the time where I would maybe write, but it's hard like to open up that space for creativity to write music when you have to go play two shows after. At least for
Right.
me,
Yeah.
it's difficult. So yeah, that was definitely something that was good about being home a lot, that kind of opened that up a little bit.
I appreciate the segue. Even for something as simple as me doing my interview show, I'm
Hmm.
practicing law all day long. And
Yeah,
I try to set aside half hour, hour, if I'm lucky, an hour and a half, just to sort of take off my lawyer hat
yeah,
and put on. And not that it's not that they're mutually exclusive. You can be a lawyer and be interpersonal and care about learning about other people, but it's a different vibe. And I would think for you, you have an obligation when you do circle. We'll learn about it in a little bit, but I would imagine there's just a zillion performers. There's your employer. You want to take care of your audience. So you have to put your
yeah,
brain in a certain place because you want them to exit what they've seen from you with a smile and feel enriched, right? So you gotta,
exactly.
yeah. So you got to put yourself in a certain framework. And I think for artistic endeavor, and I think in a good way, there's a little bit of self-indulgence there, and you can't really do that if you're trying to get into the mindset of taking care of other people, right?
Hmm. Yeah, definitely.
So what did you do creatively? Did you put some decent music or songs together?
I if it's decent or not, I can't tell. But well, my favorite thing that I did this whole time was I went to LA for a month,
Okay.
and just basically stayed at home in my best friend's apartment, and because she's a singer, she's an amazing singer.
Okay.
Her name is Aim Almas, and we used to be neighbors in LA and see each other all the time, and we haven't gone to spend so much time together the past few years,
Right.
for many reasons, because she's also a touring musician, and we finally got the chance to just be in a space together and write something which we wanted to do for a really long time. So that was really cool, like getting to write. We made an EP,
Oh, that's
just
fantastic.
the two of us, like completely by ourselves, and none of us have really produced before, so it
Okay.
was a whole learning experience, not only writing everything and just well, recording everything. I was
Right.
just on YouTube trying to figure stuff out because I've never learned anything about that. So it was cool. It was fun
That's
because
really good. So
yeah,
what was your software and hardware that you used to record?
Logic Pro and literally this little Focusrite Scarlett, and that was it. And I
That's it.
used I had my Gretsch, and
Right.
she had an acoustic guitar that probably hadn't had strings changed for at least like 5 or 6 years,
Oh, that's funny.
something, and we used that one. So it was really not a very high end recording. There was a lot of we did what we could with what we had, and there was a certain charm to it, I think.
Well, that we just the last show I just taped, was with Steve Conti, and we were talking about the difference between the modern style of recording and the more old school stuff, where there's
Hmm.
all this beauty. Like, he was talking about the fact that in the old days, if the guitars weren't digitally tuned, it's almost there's something beautiful about that. If not, I
Yes.
don't mean badly out of tune, nor did he, but if the guitar just isn't perfectly tuned, if your intonation
Yeah.
is much off, it adds something special. So even 5-year-old strings, there's something we all know what they sound like, right?
Yeah.
And maybe there's something warm about that, when they're not as
Definitely.
crisp, and you're in an apartment or a house wherever you are, and the acoustics. I don't know if you can't plug right into a board unless the acoustic had a mic in it, but you know,
Yeah.
you get the acoustics of the room, which is nice. That's good
Hmm.
stuff.
Yeah,
And
I
then,
mean, I love that stuff. Like all of my favorite players are not necessarily those perfectionists. Like I'm a huge fan of Gary Moore, for
okay,
instance, who, is very, very raw, and like there would be a lot of open strings, you could hear in his playing. It
yeah,
wasn't always perfectly clean, but
yeah,
so powerful in a
yeah.
way.
It is. I like that. Even look at the Stones. I mean, they were as sloppy as you can get live, but they're wonderful.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah,
And Mick doesn't even have a good voice, and he has a great voice at the same time.
exactly.
You
Yeah.
know? And Keith has a shitty voice. He has a great voice at the same time. You know.
Yep, very true.
So I'm going to hit your chronology a little bit now. So you're with Dollface. The pandemic hits. You have to stop for a period of time. When things open up, I'm sorry, that no, you were Dollface before Cirque. When
Yes.
Let's talk about the segue, from if it is straight from one to the other, from Dollface to Cirque, or was there something in between?
No, it was straight and very quick.
So that is, it's such an interesting story. You know, we've had so many folks on Guitar Tales who have neat backstories, but Cirque is just this legendary troupe, you know,
Yeah,
that's just been around, I would guess 30, 40, 50 years at this point.
I think so. Yeah.
So did they come knocking on your door? Did you go knocking on their door? How did that work?
So they had been knocking on my door for a few years.
Oh, really?
As a yes, because so basically the role that I'm playing as the guitarist in the show is for a female, and
Right.
I guess that there aren't, as we know, as many female guitar players around as there are males. So and they knew of me from Dollface when I
Okay.
started Dollface in Vegas, because I guess they were keeping their
Yeah,
they were looking for options in case like they needed an on-call or something. So they reached out to me the first time right when I started Dollface, so like 2015, about an on-call position. But since I was living in LA, it wasn't really possible, and that was kind of the deal. And they reached out to me a few times, and I was still in LA, so it was just never working out. But
so
this time,
you were legitimately playing hard to get. You weren't even faking it,
no,
right?
yeah,
No.
and also to be honest, I really didn't know much about Cirque then.
Right.
Like I had never seen a Cirque show. I didn't know. It was not a big thing in Sweden. Like I had never really
Right.
heard of it, and then I
Right.
heard of it when I came to Vegas. So I think I even though I knew it was big, I didn't quite understand,
Right.
what it was, and I was just yeah, I was living in LA, so it would be hard for me to accept an on-call position where they want somebody to be there all
Oh,
the time.
so
Eh,
so on call is not a full-time steady gig. On call is saying
exactly. Basically, we need somebody this
just in
week,
case.
or yeah.
Right.
So we were always in touch
Right.
because of that. So they had me like in their email list and stuff.
Right.
And then I moved to Vegas early. I think it's been early 2019, I think.
Okay.
Um, and then we were in touch again.
So you moved to Vegas not for them.
Not for them, no.
So what brought you to Vegas?
I just there was a lot of things happening in my personal life at the time, and I wanted to try something new. I was already working in Vegas a lot, so
Okay.
it made sense. So I thought I'll give it a try. It wasn't necessarily supposed to be a long-term thing,
Right.
um,
Right.
and then I was really lucky. Just a couple of months after that, I got Cirque, and it was once again they reached out to me about an on-call position, and then I ended up getting the job, and it kind of segued into a more full-time contract.
That is wonderful. Now, what people might not understand, I mean, I haven't seen Cirque. I've seen Blue Man Group in Vegas,
Yeah.
but so I know it's nothing to one has nothing to do with the other. But I've seen a show in Vegas. Um, so people will think of a show and think, oh, she's underneath, that the band pit, and no one really sees you, but they hear you. But my understanding is that that ain't you. You are prominent right on the stage in the show, right?
Yes, so that's what's different with this show is that well, first of all, there's no band, so it's all
Okay.
Michael Jackson's music
Oh, okay.
modified for the show,
Okay.
and then the only live musicians is the guitar player, and there's also a singer.
Oh, so you were
Um,
really prominent in this show.
yeah, so both me and the singer are parts of the show as characters in a
Okay.
way. Unfortunately, we have no interactions because she's literally singing on a half moon that's flying
Okay.
around the the stage. So it's really cool stuff, but it's not a regular band scenario at all.
Okay. So are you? So first of all, I hope I get it right. Was it Slash who recorded a song with Michael Jackson? I'm trying to think. There was one of his
I,
famous songs that a rock star did. I know Eddie didn't. Eddie played one of his.
yeah, Eddie did Beat It.
Right, and I thought
And
Slash might
that
have done one too. Maybe
that's
not.
very, very possible that Slash did. I don't want to say what song he did because I don't know. Could probably look it up. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then I mean the role I'm playing is basically based off of Jennifer Batten,
Okay.
that played with Michael for years. And I mean, she was, I don't know for how long she was his guitar player, but I mean, she was iconic, and her whole style with the mohawk and her clothes is kind of what inspired the role of the guitar player in this show.
Well, that's great. So when we eventually edit, maybe you can get us some pictures of what you're doing in that role, and we'll get them on here. That would be really
Definitely, yeah.
yeah.
It's
So it's got to be interesting. I mean, you're going from being in doll face where you have to learn your songs, you have to obviously get dressed up to go on stage, but then you're just performing songs. But now you're a character, and that and do you have to emote like certain feelings? Like, what do you have to do to convey that vision that they have from Cirque to the audience?
That's probably been the biggest challenge, because it's a whole different world,
Right.
of theater and acting. And obviously I don't have any lines or anything. I don't have to dance, thank God. But it's basically a lot about, I've learned a lot about posture, like to make your movements big. Your movements are never too big, really. Like you should
Right.
be larger than life.
Because you're not
And
film. They say the difference between film and stage, like actors can tell
mhm.
film, but everything on stage is big. So you have to make all your physical movements big, right?
Yeah, which has been some. I'm not. I'm more of an introverted person, so it's easy
You
for me
seem
to
like you have
like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, like it's easy for me to be in here, and I really had to learn how to, like they say, open up and to think big, and like a lot of things like that, and to really, I think you just kind of learn to step into like some sort of alter ego.
Well, that's what I was leading toward. You know, I just went about 2 or 3 weeks ago. The third guest we ever had on Guitar Tales was Nixon's Head, a band out of Philly. And their singer, Andy Rosenau, has a nice, quiet demeanor. I've known him for 30 years. And he's just like a nice, quiet, unassuming guy. When I see them live, he just explodes. He is Andy, but he's a different Andy. And,
Yeah.
and he's got almost a bit, it's almost, I want to call it swagger because that might sound almost obnoxious, but there, there is, there is this sort of larger than life confidence that exudes or exudes from him. He exudes on stage, which and then he comes back. I was like, "How do you think? Did you like it?" You know, and you seem like a quieter person. Do you have that alter ego where you become this larger person when you're on stage?
For sure.
Yeah,
And it's something I'm still working on, to be
right.
honest. Like it's something you really have to learn to get out of your own head and to just kind of serve, the purpose
Right.
of the show, which is sometimes it's hard to do 10 times a week.
I bet.
It's definitely, I need a lot of recharging time after.
Right, because that's an
uh,
energy suck, right? In a good way.
in a good
Right?
way, yeah, but
Yeah.
it definitely takes a lot of energy because I mean the whole, you've seen the photos, and I'm sure people are
Yeah.
going to see it, like the costume is, it's something else.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
pretty extreme, so there's no place to hide. You have to like really be present and act as if, yeah, it's a challenge, but it's fun.
And you're under a literal microscope. I haven't seen your show, but I would imagine that people in the metaphoric nosebleed seats, even if they're far from you, I'm going to guess that there's screens that they can watch where your film, your taped or film, and I'm guessing there's screens all over the place. So if you have an important piece of the show, it's a close up on you, right?
Yeah, actually not the whole show, but in the end, there's a solo section,
Right.
where I'm the only one on stage for a little bit, and then
Oh,
they have,
wow.
it's basically a guitar solo that comes in right before Black or White, which is one
Okay.
of the last songs
I
of
like that
the
song.
show.
I put that on my
Great song.
playlist for running. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great song.
I mean, honestly, all of Michael's songs are amazing, I think. But
Yeah.
so yeah, then that was weird the first time I did that, to see, your own face so big on a screen like
Yeah.
that. That
And
was
there's nowhere to hide.
nowhere to hide.
No, I mean, if you just have to scratch your arm. even, everyone will see you scratch your arm, you know?
Exactly. Which is, I feel like when you're in a band, you can kind of hide behind each other sometimes.
I
You
would
have
think,
that
yeah.
sense of,
Yeah.
it's nobody's looking at you the whole time. And I mean, of
Right.
course, in the show too, there's so much going on, but
And
still being one of the only musicians, you feel very, it's a little lonely sometimes.
I bet it would be. Or even if you're playing with Dollface and you're annoyed because your bass player missed the note or your drummer isn't keeping time, you could sort of jokingly sneer at them, "What are you doing?" and kind of laugh.
Yeah,
But in this, you're in character. Whatever your emotions are, they're staying back here. They can't come to the fore, right?
exactly. Hmm.
But you're done in 91 minutes in. You can go backstage and say, "What the hell are you doing?" or what have you.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though. And then, yeah, and then you've got to, so if you have two shows a night, how much time do you have between shows? Do you get to rest? Do you eat, like stuff like that?
We have about an hour.
Okay, so
Um,
you're on. That's 4 straight hours you're on, really, because I would imagine
yeah.
the hour you're just sort of resting. I would guess you have to keep your costume on for that hour, right?
Um, we can get out of costume, but we have to keep the wigs on.
Okay.
Which is, if you've seen the photos, my wig is pretty extreme.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But luckily it's not very heavy. It looks heavier than it is, so it's not much of a problem. But yeah,
So on the front end, when so if let's say your show start, like you have a show tonight, I assume, right?
actually no. Well, normally we do, but we're off today.
Okay. So let's say you know, what is it? Right now it's 7 for me, so it's 4-ish for you. I'm really bad at math. 7 minus 3 I had trouble with. But which is why I'm a lawyer. Um, so it's 4-ish for you. Let's say you had to go on at 8. How much earlier than the show do you have to show up? Like, do you have somebody putting on your makeup or do you do it yourself?
So all Cirque artists learn how to do their own makeup.
That makes sense.
So
Yeah.
so we do that ourselves, and then um, I usually get with the first show is at 7. I usually get there like 5 maybe,
Okay.
unless I have, we have rehearsals and stuff going on, which we've had a lot now coming back from, such a long time of not doing shows. Everything has kind of been
Right.
reintegrated, so we've had a lot of long days,
How much time did you have?
rehearsals and stuff.
How much time did you have off? Almost.
Gosh,
Like a year?
um yeah, a little over a year, more than a year.
Wow.
Yeah,
So that's a long time.
it's a long
Um,
time. Yeah.
do you feel, in the first handful of shows, let's call it like the first week that you were back, did you feel like your batteries were supercharged because it had been so long?
No. Actually, no, not at all. I think
Nervous?
it's nervous for sure.
Yeah.
It was just a lot of getting used to. I mean, it's been like being in a cocoon in a way
Mhm.
for so long. And like, even if you've seen people, and like when they reached out to me again, I was in Sweden with my family. So I had
Right.
to come back pretty quick and prepare.
Right.
But, and then going from, you know, a year of isolation in many ways into just, lots of people, bright lights, loud
Yeah.
music, there's pyro, everything. I definitely feel like it was, yeah, it takes some getting used to,
I
for
bet.
sure, like getting
And,
back into that. But now I think we're all starting to get
and,
used to
and
it again.
and then you had the same issue, I would guess, that if you were just either a regular person or a little, if you trend a little introverted, right? You had to sort of reawaken your extrovert,
Yeah,
who had been quiescent,
yeah,
for 13, 14 months, right? You're
yeah,
hanging out with your family, you're with your friends in LA a little bit, you're pursuing your artistic endeavors, and then you have to switch gears where, you know, 4 hours with 1 hour break a day,
hmm
5 days a week or whatever it is, you have to let that other big part of you out and reawaken that big part of you. So that's probably a bit of an adjustment.
Oh, definitely. It's just, I mean, I think you learn pretty quick to get back into it, but
Right.
just the sense of being tired, like it's more draining when you haven't done it for a while, and it
Right.
takes some time to get into that kind of that balance of being able to do 10 shows a week and function.
Right.
But I feel like now I'm starting to get into the flow again. I think we all are starting to get used to it.
I bet. And something that occurred to me um, that impresses me about, I guess it would be the producers or the directors of Cirque, is that in today's modern world, with all the lip syncing and everything that goes on, how easy would it have been for them to just have guitar tracks and have someone playing air guitar to the tracks instead of having a real guitar player? And they made the creative choice, which I think is really impressive, to say, you know what? We want a real guitar player to really play guitar, because for such a theatrical show, it just would have been effortless for them to get someone, to pretend to play guitar, and just all they would have to learn how to do is make it look like they were really playing. And they
Yeah.
can do that, and that's pretty cool, you know.
Yeah. A lot of people actually don't think the guitar is live, which is something I have both read in comments and heard people
She's
say.
so good it can't be real.
That's what I tell myself. I say that's why they think so.
Right, right, right,
But
right.
yeah, and then I think it's just, yeah, because it is
There's not
so
another way to
extreme,
interpret it.
everything.
There is not another way. If you think about it, if you sucked, they would say, "Oh, she's real." You're right.
Well, that's what I tell myself when I make a mistake. I'm like, okay, at least now they know I play
Yeah, that's
for real.
true. Yeah. And then, so I'm guessing you're just wireless and someone's working the amplifier magic. You probably have very little to do, or do you have much to do with the hardware?
No,
It's all
nothing.
them,
It's
right?
it's all programmed. Yeah, it's a fractal, I believe. And it's all pre-programmed, like different patches for different parts of the songs, and they just go
Right,
off. Um, and I even have, because there's so much going on and you have to make certain things on time. There's, guitar techs standing by backstage that helps switch guitars and stuff like
right.
that. Because I don't know if you know, but in Beat It, we have a pyro guitar. So at the end
Okay,
of the Beat It solo, it shoots pyro.
okay.
So there's a lot of like extra little things that needs to be taken care of.
And then even like the text, if you break a string, if you go a little out of tune, that they've got probably the most amazing staff of folks to take care of all
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah, they're amazing. Yeah, to make sure it's always in tune, that everything is, yeah.
That's really cool. Well, what do you have next going on? Do you have this for the immediate future? What about your creative endeavors? Do you have any of that you're working on now?
Um, Lately, I've just been, whenever I've had time, which hasn't been much,
Right.
is to just, I've been recording a little bit of guitar for some different projects, like mainly friends, bands, and stuff like
Okay.
that. So not really my own music, but I still get to be creative,
Yeah.
and adding a little bit to other people's music. And then the beginning of next year, I'm probably going to go to LA for a while, once again with my best friend. And then we did that EP. We're going to try to possibly create a full length album and
That'd be
have it
great.
properly recorded this time with some of our
Okay.
other friends. So
That's
yeah,
fantastic. Now, if people want to find you, where do they go on social media? Just your name is unique enough, and I've been hesitating
yeah,
to say it. Shireen, did I get it right this time? I got it right
yes,
again. All right, Shirin Siavashi, and it'll probably be all over the screen. But Shirin. Last name is Siavashi. I know you're
yes.
on Instagram.
Hmm.
You're probably too young to have a big presence on Facebook, because only old farts like me are on Facebook. Are you on
Yeah,
Facebook at all?
I am on Facebook. I used to have an artist page on Facebook, but I removed that because I felt like it wasn't doing any
Yes.
good. I'm not on Facebook very much, but I do
It's like
use
vinyl at
Instagram.
this point. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
although vinyl is cool again.
I know it's coming back. It's coming back. I know. Again, our guest last week, Steve Conti's, his album's coming out on vinyl, which I think is fabulous.
Yeah, I think a lot of bands are coming up with stuff on vinyl now.
Yeah,
But yeah, basically, I would say Instagram is the best place. That's where I'm the most active. I do have a website, which I have not been very good at updating.
right. I don't think
Uh,
anyone does these days. You know,
yeah,
it's kind
I
of, something has to replace that for creative endeavors. I mean, Instagram obviously does, and other
yeah,
sites do, but
I go through these phases where I'm like I delete Instagram and I'm not on there for a few months because
yeah,
um, don't necessarily like social media very much, but then I go back into it, and it is great, like for so many things
Yeah.
to find.
And
I've found so many great musicians through social media and stuff like that. So
social media saved all of us during COVID in terms
that,
of
yeah,
connecting.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we're able to take our private lives and at least share with friends in a way we used to in person. So
Yeah,
just have to figure out how to not be on our phones more than an hour a day or what have you. You know,
exactly.
it's the effort. Well, I got to tell you, this has been so much fun. I'm looking at my clock. We've actually been chatting almost 45 minutes. You know, it feels
Oh,
like
that
it
didn't
feels
feel
like
like that at all.
no, it usually doesn't because you get to meet new people and we chat about stuff. It's really nice. So I want to thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you. This was a lot of fun.
I enjoyed it too, and we can't wait till it airs. Have a good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.